What's going on, guys? So I just finished a 3-minute game that I want to share with you guys. I had a very interesting endgame, and I think this will be a good learning opportunity. So let's go ahead and take a look at this game. So I was black, d4, and I played e5. I'm supposed to be playing the King's Indian, but let's just say I've been going through a phase where I've been a little bit tilted, and part of that is I respond with e5. So I don't recommend this. It's not a good opening, but it does it can lead to some interesting positions, so that's why I've been playing it. But yeah, I don't really recommend that. So let's just kind of get past the opening here. I was playing some weird things, trying to get into a tricky position, which I think I did accomplish right around here. So it's pretty tricky. There's a lot happening already, which is what I was going for. Queen to d3, I decided let's go ahead and castle, get my king out of the center. And my opponent traded and then castled as well. So at this point, what I'm thinking is, okay, we've got the queen and the rook lined up on my queen. I don't really like that. I'd like to get out of this. It's not really a pin because I could move my bishop, but then it's going to lead to a queen trade. And when you're down material, right, I'm down this pawn, it doesn't really make sense to just liquidate, trade queens, trade rooks, go into an endgame down a pawn. I'm probably going to lose, right? So I want to keep queens on the board. Also, the whole point of this is to try to be aggressive, right? So I want to figure out a way to attack the king. So queen to a5 made a lot of sense. Now remember, this is still defended by my knight, so I don't have to worry about the queen taking that. And queen a5, now I have the threat of taking the knight here, and once the knight's gone, the pawn's undefended, and I can take that. Okay, so I felt like, all right, I got into a nice position here. Engine says it's pretty equal at this point. An opponent plays bishop to e5. Now this is actually a pretty nice move because they are attacking my knight, but at the same time trying to defend their knight over here. Now, I could have went for the same idea, right? Taking, and then after something like bishop takes, taking this pawn. The problem now is that after like this, yes, I can throw in a check back here, but the king can escape, and I don't really have a good follow-up. And I have a problem that if I take this back, I'm losing my bishop, and I'm basically just running out of steam is what's happening here, right? So that's why, going back here, that's why this was a good move, and I didn't want to follow through and, you know, go with my original plan there. So I brought this rook over. The logic here is that I want to get more pieces involved. And I see that, you know, white has a problem that these guys are going to be out of the game, at least temporarily. So if I can move this bishop somewhere, maybe force a rook trade, bring this rook over, I might have an extra rook that's involved in the attack, which could come in handy, right? So, you know, looking at my position, which pieces are not doing anything, trying to put them into a place where they're more active. That's why I played rook to d8, okay? a3. And now if you want to pause the video and try to figure out what did I play here, it's probably not the first move that comes to mind, but think about it if you want, and I'll just give you a second to do that. All right, well, the move that I played here, and I'm proud of this one, is actually the top engine move, but bishop to e6. The point is that I'm not worried about this because I have an attack on the queen. So if white does capture my bishop, I'm going to throw in this check. And after the king moves, I'm going to be able to take here with check, and I'm going to basically win the queen, and then I can deal with my queen after that, right? So that's kind of my plan. And so basically I'm saying, you know, white can't take this. They have to deal with this stronger threat. And again, we're going back to the same thing I talked about earlier. If I'm able to make the queen move, maybe trade off the rooks, and white still hasn't developed these two pieces, which is bad news for white, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. And so we do have queen g3. Now, this is a clever move because it's pinning my g-pawn, right? So I can't capture this knight if white were to take here. Okay, so I do have to be very careful. And what was played in the game, I traded the rook. This was not the best move. I'll come back to this in a second. I don't want to give it away, but there was a better move. But anyway, I traded here. I brought my rook over, check. King to c1, and now's the moment in the game where I want you to try to figure out what do you think I played here. I'll give you a few seconds if you want to think through that or pause the video. All right, and if you've had a chance to look at that, the move that I played was bishop takes a3. And this is actually setting up for a really nice checkmate, which I did see from this position. And this is a common mating pattern that's really good to be aware of. And it has to do with your queen and your bishop when you're attacking a king that has no pawns in front of it. So let me explain what I mean by that. So bishop takes a3. I mean, white pretty much has to take, and they don't have to take, but there's not really a lot of other good moves. So for example, if they go for this, going for the checkmate, my threat is simply to take here with the bishop. King takes, my queen is coming in, and it doesn't really matter where white goes. If they go over to a1, I'm going to get mate eventually, and it's going to be very similar to what happened in the game actually. Bishop to a2 check, takes, and the rook comes down, and it's over, right? So that's kind of the idea. It's really hard for white to stop that. And what was played in the game, they actually captured the bishop. Oh, sorry, instead of this move, captured the bishop. I took it. The king goes over here. And now again, if you want to pause, I kind of basically gave you the answer previously, but same kind of position here. There's two ways to do it, actually. You can play bishop a2 immediately, or the way that I played in the game, rook down first. The king has nowhere to move, so only move is to take it with the knight. And this is the pattern that you should be aware of, because this is one that I have seen many, many times in my career. You've got a queen close to your opponent's king. You also have a bishop that can come in and deliver check. Okay, so this is the pattern you want to remember. You've got the queen and bishop. It forces the king into the corner. Okay, once it's in the corner, and this is another common thing, sometimes there's something along this rank attacking your queen. It doesn't even matter, because you can play bring the bishop back with a discovered check. At the same time, you block off whatever piece is over there, so the queen can't take my queen, and it forces the king to move. You go with the queen up, forces the king over, and then you've got the bishop covering, so you can deliver the checkmate. Okay, so it's kind of a longer one, slightly more complicated, but very, very common, I would say, when you're attacking on the king side. A lot of times you do have to sacrifice a piece to get rid of the two pawns, but if you have that bishop and the queen left, you want to be looking for this. Okay, and so back here, when I was contemplating playing bishop takes a3, I saw that. So I saw, okay, takes, check, king has to move here. I can throw in this check to get the knight out of the way. And then I knew immediately from here, oh, I've got the queen bishop pattern, right? I didn't have to like calculate 1, 2, 3, those 4 more moves. I just knew, right, that it was going to be there. So that's kind of how you would work through that. Now let's go back and talk about what was the mistake that I made. So in this position, capturing here was actually a bit of an inaccuracy, and I should have just taken that right away. So I'll let you guys see if you can figure out takes. Why was that a mistake for me? What resource does white have in this position that I forgot to account for? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the answer is king to e1. So I was just thinking in my mind, well, the king has to go over here, doesn't want to go to e1, but actually e1 is much safer, right? Because we saw the dangers of going there because of what's going to happen. e1, I don't really have anything here. It's well defended, right? So how am I going to get to the king now? The answer is I'm not, and I actually have to go on the defensive and start worrying about this and maybe play a move like, yeah, Engine is saying knight e8 is actually the best move. So it's still an okay position for me, but not nearly as good as if we go back to this position. I didn't actually need to trade the rooks. I could have just left them there, went forward with bishop takes a3. And it's the same kind of idiot, right? Takes, king goes over, and now I'm going to trade the rooks, and we get the same exact mating pattern. So that's what was going on there. But you know, luckily for me, my opponent didn't see this king e1 idea and just played king c1. And so I was able to do the same thing. But I thought that was a really interesting game, a nice tactic at the end. And I just wanted to kind of talk through the thought process. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was familiar with that mating pattern of the queen and the bishop. And so I was kind of thinking through, okay, if I can get the king here and if I can move the knight away, I know I can bring the bishop and looks like I'll be able to get mate. So that's kind of how I put it all together and was able to find that nice finish. So hopefully that helps you guys. And I just wanted to share this game. As always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.